Rubio warns Europe of new era in geopolitics before big Munich speech. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has spoken of a defining moment and a new era as he travels to Europe for a major speech to the Munich Security Conference. Rubio will lead the U.S. delegation at the first major global event since President Donald Trump threatened Danish sovereignty with a pledge to annex Greenland. French President Emmanuel Macron has insisted Europe must prepare for independence from the U.S., while NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte has stressed that transatlantic bonds are as close and important as ever. The war in Ukraine, tensions with China and a potential nuclear deal between Iran and the U.S. are also on the agenda as the security conference gets underway. The world is changing very fast right in front of us, Rubio told reporters, when asked if his message to Europeans would be more conciliatory than a year ago. We live in a new era in geopolitics, and it's going to require all of us to sort of re-examine what that looks like and what our role is going to be. At last year's conference, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance attacked Europe, including the UK, for policies on free speech and immigration. His speech triggered a year of unprecedented transatlantic tension. Some 50 world leaders are set to attend this year's event, where European defense and the future of the transatlantic relationship will be discussed at a time when U.S. commitments to NATO have been called into question. Tensions have been heightened in recent months as Trump has repeatedly said that Greenland is vital to U.S. national security, stating without evidence that it was covered with Russian and Chinese ships all over the place. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen told reporters on Friday she planned to meet with Rubio to discuss the U.S. threats to seize Denmark's semi-autonomous territory from its NATO ally. The U.S. threats have been viewed by many European leaders as a watershed moment that has eroded trust with its biggest ally. Ahead of the conference, 8 former U.S. ambassadors to NATO and 8 former American Supreme Commanders in Europe issued an open letter calling for Washington to maintain its support for the Western Defensive Alliance. Far from being a charity, they said NATO was a force multiplier that allowed the U.S. to assert its power and influence in ways that would be impossible or prohibitively expensive to achieve on its own. The transatlantic relationship has come under increasing strain following the Republican president's introduction of tariffs and a suggestion in the U.S. national security strategy that European nations may not remain reliable allies in the long term. Dutch Foreign Minister David Van Wil told the BBC on Friday that he recognized the world has changed and that he hoped the transatlantic bond remains solid. Van Wil said he recognized that the Netherlands needed to step up when it came to its own security but that his country was making a big sacrifice to increase its defense spending. It will take time before we can really take over the security burden from the Americans in Europe, he warned. The Netherlands was among NATO allies that last year agreed to ramp up defense spending to 5% of their country's economic output by 2035, following months of pressure from Trump. Rubio is expected to avoid taking Vance's abrasive approach from last year but, when asked if he was planning to be more conciliatory, he told reporters that Europeans want to know where we're going, where we'd like to go, or we'd like to go with them. Hours before German Chancellor Friedrich Merz was due to open the Munich conference, Foreign Minister Johann Waidful told German public TV that the aim was to define jointly what held NATO together and show the US that it needed Europe too. Macron will also address the conference on Friday, having told the World Economic Forum in Davos last month that now was not a time for new imperialism or new colonialism. After a week of turmoil,